I just finished watching Lockwood and Co. today, and I am so disappointed that I am, because obviously it did get canceled for a second season, but the first season was so good. They did not do enough advertising for this series, and I am upset. I want to see more. The chemistry between the actors, whoever played Lockwood and whoever played Lucy, Ruby Stokes and Cameron Chapman, their chemistry was so good. I am so disappointed. This just makes me hate Netflix even more. I should not have watched this. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about some YA books that I enjoyed a lot. I consider this a recommendation video? Sure. I just want to talk about them, honestly. So first off, we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. First and foremost, the most important thing right now is the cancellation of the Netflix show. Again, very disappointed in Netflix. It makes me hate them even more. Okay, well, we're not all disappointed about the Shadow and Bone cancellation. We're disappointed about there being no Six of Crows spinoff. It got canceled. Why? I would understand if Shadow and Bone got canceled, but the Six of Crows spinoff? Are you freaking kidding me? I'm sad. Anyways, if you don't know the gist of Six of Crows by now, it's basically, there's a lot of heists in it. It's in Leigh Bardugo's Grishaverse. Out of all her books, I don't think this is considered like the most fantasy out of all. I think what counts as like the fantasy aspect in Six of Crows is the world itself. Although I guess there's also like Nina, who's a heartrender, so magic with some characters, but I think the world is considered a bit more fantasy. You get very attached to these characters. Like, it's kind of unhealthy how attached to these characters you get, considering it's only 2 books. Although I did hear there's a 3rd book coming out, but I'm not really sure how to feel about that. Honestly, I thought it ended off on a good enough note, if you know what I mean. But anyways, the reason why I was talking about Lockwood and Co. earlier is because the guy who plays Lockwood, I just said his name, something Chapman, but honestly, that guy is sort of how I imagined Kaz. I'm so sorry. No, I love the cast for Six of Crows that they use for Netflix. I hate Netflix, but I love the cast. But obviously they are younger than we imagined them to be in the books. Let's be honest here. If that happened in real life, they would not be that age. What are they in the books? Like 15, 16? Yeah, but the guy who plays Lockwood, for some reason, that's the way I sort of imagined Kaz. He and Kaz aren't really similar characters at all, if I'm being honest. Lockwood's a bit more, how should I say this? Reckless but preppy. Oh, I guess that's not really far off from Kaz, is it? Kaz is more on the darker side. Okay, no, Lockwood never plans things beforehand, but Kaz always has like this very overwhelming plan. Honestly, the only reason I put this book on this list was to talk about the Netflix show, or rather to complain about the Netflix show. Jesper and Wylan, they completely ruined Jesper and Wylan in the show, okay? What? Where is my slow burn romance? Oh god, I hated how they made them into a one-night stand trope in the show. It just happened. It happened so quickly. I wanted my slow burn romance. In the books, it was kind of like they were very wary of each other, I guess, in the beginning. Like, they weren't very fond of each other in the beginning, and then they like developed this very cute relationship, sort of friendship, and then you see Jesper starting to like Wylan more and more, but it doesn't happen until the 2nd book. I was so disappointed it didn't happen like that in the show. Obviously, if it got a 3rd season, then I would have wanted it to happen in the 3rd season, not the 2nd season where they met and then 2 seconds later they were just making out with each other. And also Matthias, I guess, is just gonna stay in Hellgate forever. Netflix seriously robbed us. Nej and Kaz just never gonna reunite, which kills me. I know what I said about the guy who acted as Lockwood is the way that I imagine Kaz Brecker, but at the same time, that casting was perfect. Like, yes, if the Six of Crows characters were a bit older than they are in the books, then that's the casting that I would give them. I also feel so bad for the author. I follow Leigh Bardugo on like Instagram, and she seems so sad. Like, she didn't exactly speak out like in person, she more like typed out a note and then posted it. It seems so sad, and I feel so bad for her. Hopefully another streaming site picks up Six of Crows or Shadow and Bone again. Even if I didn't enjoy Shadow and Bone part of Shadow and Bone and only okay, let's be honest here, we only watched that show because of the Crows, okay? I'm just so bothered. The Crows got so robbed. I wanted to see their spin-off so badly. Like, the secret identity reveal. You know what I'm talking about if you've read the books. The Jesper and Wylan piano scene where it's not actually Wylan, if you know what I mean. And then also Kaz and Nej, where Kaz just slowly starts opening up, like the bears the mouth, he starts opening up, but he starts opening up and you know how big it is when it happens. I'm just so sad we'll never get to see it on screen. And also when Matthias and Nina make up, oh my, we were robbed of the crows. Anyways, I should move on. She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott. And also her wife. Yes, this was written with her wife. I forget her wife's name. I'm so sorry. I didn't write it down. And her wife, Allison Derrick. Found it. My Wi-Fi's not working, so I had to go physically find that. Anyways, I think I like this book so much because one, I rarely read romance books, and this was one romance book that I genuinely like, and I always go back to read the scenes in that book because they're just so cute. Like one scene in particular where okay, wait, I guess I should give like some sort of context first before I start explaining what my favorite scene is. So there's two main characters, obviously. It's dual POV. So we get Alex, who has like a very difficult home life, but she's always been like very social, very popular. She knows how to interact with people. And then the second main character is Molly. She's always been close with her family. Like her family's always been like her closest friend. But also Molly's like the very shy type. She's like almost the opposite of Alex, I guess. Anyways, Alex tries to help Molly get a date with the girl she likes, and in return Molly has to put in a good word for Alex to Alex's ex-girlfriend. And obviously by the title, we know what happens at the end of the book. Very slow burn romance. Sort of minor spoilers here, but the book ends when the main characters get together. And that's probably why I liked it so much. It's like enemies to friends to lovers. They're friends for a very long time, and honestly I like that because with sapphic romances I do like it when the women become friends first and then fall in love. I don't know, I just feel like it's so much more impactful for some reason, and it just makes me love them even more. This book is also set in college, and that's probably also another reason why I liked it, because when I had read this book, I was in my last year of high school, so I was about to go off to university. They call it university here in Canada. I'm Asian Canadian, so. But yeah, I guess I could just also relate to the being sent off to university or something. I mean, I wasn't actually sent off, but going to university and stuff, I could relate to, obviously. Like, new world, new people. But anyways, back to what I was saying before. My favorite moment in this book, and it's something I go back to read over and over because I don't know why. It's like the most insignificant of moments, but at the same time, I just love it so much. So basically, Molly's brother also goes to this college, and he also lives very close. He has like his own house and everything there. One day, Molly and Alex plan a day where they're just hanging out, I guess, or like Alex is coming over to give Molly advice or something, but that's not important. What's important is that when Alex arrives at the door, knocks at the door, Molly is just standing there all cool, and then my favorite line that comes out of that book is Molly saying, "It's two of your favorite things, eating and hanging out with me." And I don't know why I loved it so much. I'm so attached to them. It's probably so unhealthy. Rachel Lippincott's sapphic romance books, or at least I've only read like one of Rachel Lippincott's sapphic romance books, but I loved it so much, if you couldn't tell. I also have The Lucky List by her, which is also a sapphic romance. Not in the mood to reading a romance anytime soon, probably. Again, I hardly read romances, so it's very rare that I love a romance book this much, but I'm hoping The Lucky List is also similar to this, not similar I guess, but like it gives me the same feeling that She Gets the Girl gave me. Next one is a series, and it's The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I'd have to say my favorite book in the series was probably Cress. I don't really know why. I guess it was just the relationship between Cress and the main love interest, Thorn. Thorn is kind of like the bad boy type. It's been so long since I've read the series. I still go back to read some scenes in these books as well, especially between Cinder and Kai. I was so attached to Cinder and Kai in high school, and I have no clue why, if I'm being honest. They were just so cute. I think it was because they were the first couple I genuinely loved, like with all my heart. Anyways, The Lunar Chronicles is like a sci-fi fantasy sort of thing. There's like well, not aliens, but sort of aliens in this world. I guess there's like different planets that people have already inhabited. I guess you can call the aliens the lunar people. The lunar people have like these powers where they can glamour themselves. Like they can put an illusion over themselves to make themselves look more beautiful, I guess, is like very popular within like the lunar society or whatever. But also they just hate mirrors because mirrors reveal how they actually look underneath that illusion. There's also a virus going on or something. I think one of Cinder's family members is sick Berserker or something. I can't really remember. I'm so sorry. It's been so long since I read this. Each of the books is like a fairy tale retelling. So the first book, Cinderella. Second book, Scarlet, which is based off of Red Riding Hood. Crest, which is based off of Rapunzel. That's my favorite book. That actually might be the reason why it's my favorite book, because I liked the movie Rapunzel so much when I was younger. And Winter, which is obviously based off of Snow White, if you couldn't guess. Honestly, Marissa Meyer was like one of my favorite authors growing up. I think another reason I also liked Kai and Cinder was because they were also sort of very slow burn in a way. Like nothing, I shouldn't say significant, but nothing like substantial happened between them until like maybe the third book. I'm a slow burn romance person, if you could not tell. If it's like immediate attraction between the people, then I probably won't like them. But if it's like a romance that happens over the course of multiple books, then I'll absolutely love that couple. Because you know, if it happens over the course of multiple books, you know it's not just physical attraction. Like they get to know each other. Communication. Next books I want to talk about are also by Marissa Meyer. It's the Renegades trilogy. This one is also just because I wanted to talk about the relationship between the two main characters, Adrian and Nova. This is kind of like a sci-fi dystopian type book. So basically in this world, superheroes are the government. There's like superpowers, people have superpowers, and there's also like a bunch of villains who want revenge against the heroes. The superheroes are called renegades. So before the renegades became like the government and everything, villains ruled the world until people with power started to stand up against them. In the end, the superheroes obviously won. And basically to become a renegade, there's like these tryouts. The thing is, Nova's also a very well-known villain in the world. It's just that her identity is hidden because she's always wearing a mask and hood. And one day they just decide Nova should infiltrate the renegades to like learn their secrets and everything, and she has to hide her abilities and everything because Nova's superpower is if she touches a person's skin, she can make them automatically just fall asleep like immediately. So she sort of has to pretend to be like powerless. Adrian's superpower is so cool. It's whatever he draws, he can make it come to life. It's only for like a certain amount of time, obviously. For like some things, like sort of living objects, he can't make them live forever. Like they eventually die, obviously, like all living things. But anyways, Adrian and Nova, oh my god, the hidden identity, it's like so impactful, like the reveal. Normally if I read books and there's like a hidden identity trope in it and the reveal isn't impactful, I won't like it. Like thankfully the hidden identity part, it doesn't happen immediately in the first book. If it had happened in the first book, then it wouldn't have been as impactful as it was. Oh my god. And also I loved first book in the Renegades trilogy. Then the second book stressed me out so much, and then the third book, personally the ending didn't satisfy me as much as other people said it satisfied them. So I still love the books. It's just I love the first one the most. I don't know, experiencing a series for the first time is always the best for some reason. Like being introduced to that world was so much fun. Okay, next book is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Skyward is a 4-book series. The last book just came out November 26th, I think, or no, 21st. Okay, I'm just gonna say it now because I've already said this like multiple times in other videos when I've recommended Skyward. The first book is the best, okay? The second book tried too hard to be the first book, and then the third book I just wish I had never read. I'm hoping the fourth book gives it a good ending, which I've already said multiple times again. So basically in this world, humans are almost extinct and they're forced to be secluded on this planet where aliens are constantly attacking them. So the humans are basically forced to become pilots. Basically every single child wants to be a pilot. Like being a pilot is probably like the best thing you can be in this world. Oh my god, the slow burn romance in this though, like in the first book, you don't realize who's the main love interest until maybe like 3/4 in. It's kind of like academic rivals to sort of liking each other in the first book. The second book ruined the romance for me. It was just so immediate. I don't know what is with Brandon Sanderson and his time skips, but he loves doing time skips for some reason. And with the time skip, it was just like, oh, 6 months later, oh, we both know we like each other, but we won't do anything about it. And then boom, something happens between them. And I was so bothered by it. Like my slow burn romance went away because of that time skip. Like dang it. I just realized I've been complaining about my favorite books this whole time instead of saying why I actually like them. Whoops. Anyways, Skyward series were the books that made me realize action scenes can also be enjoyable, because normally I only like reading about slow burn romance in like fantasy or sci-fi books. I can't read romance books because the romance is constant, but like fantasy books, it's like these small moments that just make you so happy, but it's also those small moments that make you want to go back and reread them. The talking ship thing also weirded me out. So basically Spencer is sort of like an outcast in this world. Her father was considered like a coward and they pretty much think in this world that cowardice can be passed on through blood or genes or whatever, which is so strange, I know. Yeah, they basically won't let Spencer become a pilot because of that reason. But then one day she finds like this strange talking ship, AI, and it just gives her this chance that no one else had given her before to become what she's always wanted to become. I guess one thing that I did like over the course of the books that didn't only just happen in the first book is that we get to see Spencer's leadership skills improve, because unlike the cowardice, I feel like the leadership potential she got from her father just by seeing him do what he did best in the past. Next one, A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Saft. This is a very slow burn romance, which is why I liked it so much, honestly. This is sort of based off of Full Metal Alchemist. It's not in the description or anything if you like read the blurb on the back or like go on Goodreads or something. It's not in the description, but it is blatantly based off of Full Metal Alchemist. And there is also alchemy in this book. That's how much is based off of that anime. So basically in this book, there's a hunt where if you win, you can win a lot of money. And there's two main characters in this book. I believe this one's also dual POV. So the girl main character, she isn't very liked because of like her father's origins. There's like a lot of religious aspects in this book, a lot of discrimination because of that religion. And then the guy main character has a very large family and has always wanted to become an alchemist. Like, you kind of need a license to become an alchemist in this world. I can't remember if that was the same in the anime. But anyways, he wants to become like a full-on alchemist, but no one will take him as an apprentice, also because of his origins and also because of his inexperience. Like, he's self-taught. And the girl's mother is a very well-known alchemist. So basically the girl asked the guy to enter the hunting competition with her, and in exchange she'll put in a good word for him to her mother. In the beginning, it's very blatant that they don't like each other. Like, it's kind of like they sort of can't stand each other, or like he sort of annoys her. Like, he tries to get along with her, but she's just annoyed by his like charming attitude and stuff. It is sort of a he falls first sort of situation, but he doesn't want to fall because he knows how much she doesn't like him in the beginning. I liked how they helped each other in this book. You'll know what I mean if you read it, but it's sort of like they free each other in a way. Like, it's a very relieving sort of relationship once they figure out that life isn't just this and that. Like, honestly, I like reading about that in books where the relationship is like they don't exactly save each other, but they help each other in a way that no one else can help them. They were so sweet too. Like, once they fell for each other, they fell hard. It was a very sweet love story once it got to the part where they didn't hate each other as much anymore. Although the hate part I didn't mind, because again, I'm a very slow burn romance type of person. I do think it's more on the romance side rather than like the fantasy side. The fantasy side is the hunt, but we don't really get to see the hunt until maybe like near the end of the book. Most of the book is just them developing their romance, which honestly with this one I didn't mind too much because it was very slow. The romance wasn't like immediate. Next one is one that probably most people love, honestly, and yes, it is worth the hype. It's Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I said this before, but there's something so addictive about Rebecca Ross's writing. You really just get like absorbed into it. So basically in Divine Rivals, the thing that made me want to read this honestly was just like 2 words: magical typewriter. It's like enemies to lovers or like workplace rivals to lovers. The 2 main characters are Iris and Ronan. Wait, Ronan or Roman? I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting his name. This man loves her so much. He practically gives up his whole life just to be with her. Like, standards. This is why Bookworm's standards in men are so high. Like, he comes from like this rich and elite family who has like very high expectations of him, and Iris comes from a very poor family. Her mother's like an alcoholic and everything, and he just gives that all up just to be with her. Why don't you exist in real life? It is definitely more on the romance side than fantasy, like Alison Saft's book. Again, I didn't mind that. Well, I didn't mind it until like near the end of the book. When it got to like near the end, the romance did become like a bit more fast-paced. I mean, I get that they were in like war and everything. Yeah, with war you never know what's gonna happen, but still, I thought it just happened a bit too quickly near the end, so that's why I never gave this like a perfect 5 out of 5. I still gave it like a decently good rating. It was like a 4.75 out of 5. Yeah, I would have preferred near the end if it had gone like a bit slower, but they were still like really, really cute. Yeah, there is like a war between gods going on. Reading the book, you think that wouldn't fit, like a war between gods, but it somehow just incorporates itself into the story eventually. There is also a hidden identity trope in this book, kind of. The guy finds out first before the girl does, so like he's sort of in this situation where he knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is. I guess context, they're like writing letters to each other without knowing who they're writing letters to, except the first time Iris sends a letter to... I seriously want to say his name is Ronan. Is it Roman? Yeah, but anyways, the first time Iris sends a letter to him, he figures out immediately that it's her based on the context of the letter and everything. Like she thinks she's writing to her brother, but really the letter is being sent to... I'm just not gonna say his name. I completely forget his name. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting like seeing him work around the situation where he knows first, because they work in the same place, but also there's like the subtle flirting that occurs because he obviously knows who he's writing to, but she doesn't. Oh my god, the identity reveal. I think the book, or like Rebecca Ross, did a good job of the being in denial part, if that makes sense. Like having to change your image of someone you thought you knew into another person you thought was a different person into that same person that you thought you knew. Oh god, I'm making this sound way too complicated, but I hope that sort of made sense. Next one, Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This came out in like COVID times, and honestly, it was probably one of the best books that came out in COVID times. At least that's what I heard. I didn't read this during COVID times. I read it like 2 years after it released, but people said this was probably like the best fantasy that came out during that time. But anyways, POC, main character, representation, yay. And honestly, I loved Bree as a main character to read about, or like read from her perspective. Like I think Tracy Deonn did like a good job of writing about like grief and loss. Like Bree was a very strong character, but she also had like a lot of depth and emotion to her because of the loss she had previously experienced by losing a family member. This book does delve a lot into like, is history the right word? I'm not sure, but like the history of the unfair treatment Black people have experienced in the past, and it incorporates really well into the story as well. This is like a King Arthur retelling sort of, except it's like King Arthur and then way in the future sort of thing. My jaw honestly dropped at the ending. Like I was not expecting it. I read some reviews where people was like, oh, it's obvious what the ending was going to be, but honestly I did not expect it whatsoever. Plot twists in fantasy, if it's done right, are always the best. Oh, and there's one character in this book that I love so much. I'm not gonna say who it is because it's like minor spoilers sort of, but I love this character so much. It's like not even funny. Like I became so attached to them even in the beginning where they were sort of considered a jerk. I still love them, which is probably not a good thing. Oh, there's also like a love triangle in this book, but it's not the type of love triangle that you hate. You love both the main love interests, but personally I'm biased because one of the love interests is the character that I love, who is my favorite character. Hint, if you read the book, it's the dark-haired wizard type man. I don't know how else to explain it. It's been kind of a while since I read the first book. I still need to read the second book. I really want to read the second book because of the cover, considering who's on the cover. There is a lot of information dumping at the beginning of the book. I will warn you. You kind of get like used to it. Like you process the information over the course of the book. Like you eventually get it, but also at the same time, if you don't get it, you'll still be very confused near the ending. Thankfully, I got it. So next one is Legend by Marie Lu. Honestly, I wish there were more dystopian books coming out like this one, like they used to. They're just so much fun to read. But anyways, Legend by Marie Lu is dual POV. Actually, a lot of these books on this list are dual POV. I didn't realize until now, but anyways. The first main character is Day, who is the Republic's most wanted criminal, and then the second one is June, who is the Republic's most known military prodigy. So like one day, there's a crime committed against June's family, and Day is the prime suspect. There is sort of hidden identity in this book, like near the beginning. There's also a virus going on in this world. Is there always a virus going on? Is it in dystopian books? Is that just like a common trend? There's also a war that's happening we don't really get into until like maybe the second book. The main focus of the first book is like that crime that had been committed against June's family and like who did it. There's like a lot of hidden secrets in these books that we like sort of dive into over the course of the trilogy. Honestly, I did find some of the plot twists to be a bit predictable. Like I feel like this is sort of aimed at a younger audience, but I still enjoyed it. But yeah, it was a bit predictable at times, but I still found it like very enjoyable to read because of like Marie Lu's fast-paced writing. I enjoy fast-paced writing because there's always something happening. Yeah, I don't know. I just added this on here because it just made me want to talk more about like dystopian books, like Alexandra Bracken's Darkest Minds. I haven't read that yet. I do want to read it because I watched the movie like a really long time ago, and since I forget what happened in the movie now, I figured I should start the The Darkest Minds. And also Legend by Marie Lu makes me want to read more of her writing because I genuinely enjoyed her writing. Again, the fast-paced writing, there's always something happening, it's always interesting. And like these books were also very action-packed. I think Marie Lu in like the Legend trilogy also did like a really good job of writing the characters hesitating, because there is a point in the book where sides have to be switched and stuff. The experience I had reading these books made me very frustrated, but like in a way where I understood why I was frustrated, if that makes sense. I don't know, this trilogy just gave me like the feeling I had when I first read The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer in like grade 7. I just finished the Legend trilogy like maybe 2 months ago or something, so I did like the nostalgic feeling it gave me when I read these books. And last but not least, we have The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm not gonna say too much about these books because I do want to give like the Raven Boys their own video because I just finished this very recently. I actually finished it last night, and honestly the Raven cycle has become like one of my favorite series of all time. Like it's so worth it. If you haven't read it yet, it's not too late. Please start it because it's actually so good. Like I don't think it matters what age you read that at. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you read a YA book if you're like 50 or something, but also this the Raven cycle just gives you the feeling of you can enjoy this at any age. It is very character driven, but also the plot is interesting once you get into it. It is kind of strange. So it's basically about these 5 characters who are looking for a Welsh king who is also known as a Raven King. And that's basically all I'm gonna say because again, I do want to give the Raven Boys their own video because I just want to talk about them. Oh, and one last thing actually, the romantic subplot is probably one of the best I've ever seen. Like you don't know who the main love interest is in the first book until like maybe the second book. And then there's also this one couple where it's hinted at, but it's not given to you until the third book, whether it's gonna happen or not. So yeah, I just love the Raven cycle so much. I'm so attached to all the characters. Honestly, I want to go back and reread them one day and annotate the books. I'm not a very big annotating person, but these books I genuinely want to annotate just so I can flip back to my favorite moments in the books. I just love YA so much. I feel like it doesn't matter what age you read them at, it's always going to be like kind of like a palate cleanser. I feel like adult books are like very information heavy and they can be like very graphic sometimes, so I always love going back to read YA books, and I feel like most people do no matter what age they're at. But yeah, I'm gonna end the video off here. I hope you enjoyed and hope to see you next time. Bye!